I'm Carol Ann Ford. I played Susan in Doctor Who. And I've been listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast, and it's absolutely amazing. So, goodbye everybody, and it's been fun talking to you.
Just as we continue all the way to episode 499 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. You're not real, actual robots, are you? That's just ridiculous. Oi, you're wrecking the whole place. And my landlord is not a nice man. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like a new with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bengal.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
Oh boy. We've got stuff to talk about.
Yeah. I have thoughts, too.
Oh, you and me both. The Sheldon Cooper meme, who needs sleep? I want answers, kind of came up on Saturday when that dropped.
Thankfully I did not get spoiled.
Me too.
I
feel sorry for everybody who had gotten spoiled.
Because there was a reason they simulcast it, so the spoilers
would be good thing they did.
Equal nice across the board as far as timing.
A little early because I watched it before the Inter game.
Yeah.
So
So I had been out. I went to.
You saw some doggos.
I did. I went to a pet pride event because obviously June is Pride Month, but to take advantage of it, the biggest Saturday, even though it's technically the last day of May, the Hoosier Indie Pride people, they have Pet Pride, which is
very cool.
It gives people an opportunity to bring their pets and sometimes dress them up and do all sorts of awesome stuff. And there's vendors from like your vets and some of your doggy daycare type places, people that do training. There were some rescues.
Cool.
Yeah, mostly dogs, but because it's Pet Pride, there were some non-canine pets there as well. There was an exotic animal rescue there, so they had some rats.
Ooh, cool.
That was kind of fun. I haven't been able to play with rats in a while. It was just funny watching them climb up on the cage and how easily they grasp it. Made me think of the kid in The Witches.
Oh yeah.
he's like, oh, the things I could do with my little, he was turned into a mouse. Or maybe it was a rat.
It's just
either way,
don't use those to try to break free.
Yeah. So it was warm that day, so they mostly really just wanted to stay in the shade and not do a whole lot. But they had some rats. They also had a rescued chicken.
Oh, cool.
It was like a silky, it was all black. I thought, it was like, that's not just a chicken, that's a goth chicken.
Nice.
So
and
I saw someone and it brought their pet corn snake. So
cool.
It's all good. But I did see some corgis among a number of other breeds, including some breeds I have no idea what they are. So
a doggo is a doggo is a doggo.
Yeah, I would say in my mind, doesn't matter big, small, old, young. If I see a doggo, I'm be like, puppy!
Yes, puppy.
They're all puppies to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I did.
Of course,
see
I'll rub your belly, scratch your ears, and give you num-nums if I got them.
Yes. Yep. So I did see a few corgis, which always makes my day. And then.
And Chauncey looked very happy too in some of those pictures.
Yeah, well, that was the next day.
Oh, that was the next day. Okay.
Yeah. So I did some running around after that, and then I went to a local sports pub, styled after an English pub, and watched the The sad Champions League match.
Ooh, yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that I knew I needed to drive myself home, I probably would have had more than one pint.
Yeah.
The way the match was going.
Basically, that 70s show meme with the mom and the picture.
Oh, it was so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But then Chauncey and I went to Indians game, which is our local minor league baseball team. We've gotten through work, they got in a group like discount, so we were able to get discounted tickets. And neither of us had been to an Indians game in a hot minute, and it was Star Wars night. So
even better.
Nice.
Yep.
Even better.
The Indians had special Star Wars themed jerseys.
Cool.
The mascot, Rowdy, had a special Star Wars outfit for himself. They played Star Wars music like all the time on the giant scoreboard. We were playing the Nashville Sounders, and all of the when it was the Sounders' turn, they were up to bat, the player, when it was that player's turn, they'd show their name and their stats and stuff, but instead of showing a picture of said player, they got a Star Wars character that was either Dark Side and or Empire.
Nice.
So we never saw any of the players' faces on the screen. And then all of our players, when it was their turn to bat, we got them with a lightsaber. So
cool.
Yeah, and there was all sorts of Star Wars. They had presumably members of the local 501st and Rebel Legion and the like that were in character doing photo ops with the kids, and a lot of the kids were wearing Star Wars shirts, and sometimes parents were dressed up. There was themed food. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty fun though. And unlike Enter Milan, the Indians just they took the lead and they were like, bye. And at the same time, it's like, we're sitting there and the baseball game started an hour and a half before the NBA game. But it's funny because the Pacers were playing at home, which is if you look at a map of downtown Indianapolis and you see where Victory Field is, and then there's the convention center, and then Lucas Oil Stadium. So it's several blocks over to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, but still downtown was kind of hopping.
Yeah.
But on the little flat screens they have near the concession stand, while people were waiting in line to get their hot dogs and stuff, they had the Pacer game on once it started. And I could see people pulling it up on their phones in between innings, checking the score and stuff.
Yeah.
So thankfully the Pacers did win, so we are playing in the NBA Finals. Against,
I was rooting for the Pacers and
the Thunder.
They took out my Bucks, so it's I'm rooting for them to make it through.
We shall see what happens. That series starts Thursday, I think, as we're recording this. And I don't know if the first game is here or if it's in Oklahoma City. So doesn't matter. I'm just going to avoid downtown if I can help it. Although that will be interesting. Again, just like when we were earlier in the series playing against Cleveland, and then the Knicks getting close to the 500 and all the festivities. And it's not this weekend, but next weekend is all the Pride stuff in downtown Indianapolis. So that can make for interesting parking situations and the like if the series goes that far. So yeah, interesting time to be a Hoosier. But yes, I was very busy out of the house most of the day on Saturday. So I thankfully was not spoiled. I didn't get to watch it till late when I got home after the baseball game, and then finally watched it. And obviously we're going to talk about that and the entire series as a whole. But then yes, yesterday Chauncey and I went up to Hunt Club Distillery. They're up in Sheridan. And they were having their spring Corgis and Cocktails event, which I went to last year in the spring with just me. I think Chelsea was probably up at the cabin, probably. And then he went to the fall version last year. So this was his time to go to the spring version where there's more likely to be puppies. So we didn't have any puppies, unlike when I went last year, but we did have a couple of younger corgis, including the one where, if you, especially if you follow Chauncey on social media, you've probably seen the pictures. He's posted on Instagram.
Grin from ear to ear, like, oh yeah, you get it, you get it.
Yeah. Everyone was like, you didn't bring one? I'm like, no, we don't have one yet. And people at Pet Pride were like, do you have a dog? I'm like, no, not yet. It's like, I'm doing one of the vendors that I stopped at, it was one of those pet daycare, type places. They also do overnights, boarding if you're going to be gone. And she's like, I was like, yeah, probably this time next year, we'll probably have our first dog. And she's like, you know what? That's probably a good thing now that you're doing the research so that you're as prepared as you could be before the dog actually comes into the household. Yes. I like the way you put that. Like, need to be aware of like vets locations and emergency vets and potential boarding places
and
schools, like training facilities and stuff
and
like that.
Pros and cons of doing pet health insurance or not doing pet health insurance.
Yes. And doing the corgis and cocktails yesterday gave Chauncey a lot of hands-on experience with that particular breed. So
yes, the energy level, the teethers, the tails, the poundage.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the one that we played with most of the time,
like as I like to call it, the puppy per square inch when they like to go hi on chest.
Yeah. Well, in this case, thankfully, the one that we were playing with and hung out with most of the time, she's only 5 months. So her name's Minnie.
Minnie, I love that.
Yeah, she's very adorable. And then the other puppy was Fiona, which cool. If you follow corgi influencer tangent here, I follow a lot of corgi related accounts on social media. But some are more popular than others. Like there's Maxine, the fluffy corgi. She lives in New York City. Her parents invented a pet-friendly backpack because in New York City you can take pets on the subway, but they have to be carried in something. Unless it's like a service dog. But so you have to put them in like, either if they're small enough, a la Paris Hilton, stick them in your bag. Yeah. Stick them in your handbag, whatever. But in Maxine's case with the corgi, it's a little harder. So they invented this backpack that you can carry your dog in that makes it really easy to put your dog in and get them out, and it's really comfortable for them. It's also comfortable for the owner to wear, that sort of thing. So Maxine has become quite popular because of that. And then they used to be in Vegas, Hammy and Olivia. And then they moved to Washington, D.C., of all places. I don't know why. And unfortunately, Olivia passed away last year, almost 2 years ago, I think. And eventually they did get a new puppy. And her name is Fiona. It is so wild because I saw this puppy yesterday and she's fluffy and she's got she looks like she got a hold of her mom's like eyeliner and mascara and had no idea what she was doing with it. And I was like, and I was telling the gal that brought Fiona, the fluffy, eyeliner puppy and Minnie, I was like, I follow an account online and one of their dogs looks exactly like her. And she's like, Hammy and Olivia? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I named her after Fiona. Because it looks like copy and paste. Like Hammy's Fiona is now over a year old. This Fiona is, she's, I mean, Minnie was 5 months. I think Fiona was probably like 3 months or something like that. But it looks like, like genetics was just like copy and paste. We need another Fiona in the universe or something. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Of course, I'm in hog heaven because it's corgis just all over the place.
Yeah.
Plus it's a distillery, so they have libations.
Adult
beverages. I'm like, corgis and adult beverages. Sign me up. So yeah, but it was a really good experience for Chauncey and I to get a lot of hands-on time with that particular breed, and there were different sizes and different ages and male and female. So, so yeah, but hopefully by the time we go to the spring one next year, maybe, hopefully, we will have our own with us. So, but yeah, that kept me from getting spoiled about Doctor Who and other stuff, which is always a good thing. So anyway, enough of my tangents. Can you tell I'm kind of also delaying the 10 o'clock news?
Yeah.
So first up, a piece of 10 o'clock news. We have lost Loretta Swit, aka Hot Lips.
Yes.
From MASH.
Yeah.
Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan.
Yep.
She passed away a couple days ago. It's unfortunate, especially because she was still active. She was on the guest list for FanX Salt Lake.
Yeah, she was
this year. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully, her co-stars. I'm sure there will be a lot of reminiscing come FanX in September. So, but yeah, her Hot Lips is iconic.
Yes, she is.
There was, MASH had a number of characters in them, but some just kind of stood out more than others. And, especially because, Houlihan was, one of the few regularly named, more fleshed out female characters.
Yes.
In MASH. Like, there were a lot of nurses.
Right.
But they tended to be just like extras, and you only really saw them in like when they were in surgery and stuff. So they had scrubs on and masks and hairnets and stuff. So yeah, there were not a lot of regular female leads in MASH. She was one of the few of them. So, so yeah, it was a shame, but she was
87, I want to say
87, 88
somewhere in there.
Yeah she was her birthday is she was born like 3 months before my dad. So yeah, they're very close in age. So yeah, we will have to well, I like what they posted, the FanX posted when they found out. They they adjusted a quote from MASH itself. It says Major Margaret Houlihan will be leaving the 407th 7th. There will be wine with dinner with ice cream and chocolate sauce. So I thought that was sweet.
Yes, very, very sweet.
All right, so now we got past the 10 o'clock news. Let's get on to slightly happier stuff, including we've got our dates for Stranger Things.
Yes,
Series
that
5, the finale. So we got a nice little montage looking back at some of the madnesses happened over the 4 seasons. It's really wild to see the stuff from the first season, to see just how little the kids were.
Just babies.
No, they're so tiny.
No. They need to redo the meme like they did with Supernatural when you go back to watch season 1.
Yeah.
They need to do that, but for Stranger Things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chauncey is behind, so it's like now that we know when it's coming, we could
get him caught up.
Binge. Yeah, we need to binge. At the very least, I need a refresher, so we'll probably binge the entire thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's gonna come in 3 chunks.
Yeah,
I think, because I don't think it's just going to be 3 episodes.
They didn't say how many episodes were going to be in each chunk, but it's like, okay, we've got.
But they're calling them volumes, so that usually indicates more than one.
Right.
In my mind, so we're going to get volume 1 at Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Volume 2 at Christmas.
Yep.
And then the finale, New Year's Eve, and it's supposed to be dropping simultaneously on Netflix at approximately 5 p.m. Pacific time. So figure out where you are in relation to
that would be
time. So for other time zones outside of the US, that date may not match.
Right.
For us in the US, that's 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's 8 p.m. for me.
That would be 7 my time.
Yeah. So yeah, if you don't want to
get spoiled.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you don't want to get spoiled, I'm just saying, considering the when they're releasing this, if the we still got ways to go, but if you're thinking now of the upcoming holidays, you're like, ugh, family that maybe you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time with, you can just be like, I'm gonna go watch Stranger Things. Don't bother me. I don't want to get spoiled. I'm gonna be able to watch this spread.
or ask which family members happen to be fans of.
Yeah.
Like, let's go into the next room.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna go watch Stranger Things now. Don't bother us.
Yeah.
If you hear screaming, don't. It's okay.
It's all right. Yeah.
So yeah,
we don't want to play cards.
You can use Stranger
we'll
Things as an excuse this holiday season to squirrel yourself away from socializing with people you don't want to.
What sports game watching? No sports game.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but yeah, that is releasing worldwide all at once, but the date may vary depending on your time zone. So you might need to pull up like a world clock or something and be like, okay, what time is that for me if it's 5 Pacific time on November 26th? Yeah. But that's exciting. Yeah, Holly, you shared that and I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, I knew they were kind of, it wasn't really, they publicized it, it wasn't getting a lot of traction. It's just like, I was seeing on the main Facebook page for Stranger Things, like, yeah, it's going to be dropping. And I'm like, refresh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Finally. All right. Share. Yay.
Yeah.
About time.
Yeah. What's funny though is I was watching it and Chauncey was just hearing the audio. And he's like, that doesn't sound very 80s to me. I said, that's because they're not in the 80s anymore. There's going to be a time jump.
Oh, okay.
That's just funny. He was like, it doesn't sound very 80s. Okay. You are so behind, dude. You're so behind. All right. So there is that. And then as we mentioned last week, just a reminder of where we're at for the book club, because we are in a new month.
Yes, we are. This month's book is, I think it, that was the only thing I didn't have put up. I have the voting. Just a second here. I want to see it is Caged. 15th Doctor with Ruby Sunday.
Yep.
Yes, it is Cage. All right.
Nice.
Then voting for July. Our choices are Eden Rebellion, which is another 15th Doctor book. Yes, it is available stateside via hardcover or electronic. And then the other two are they're shorter reads, but they are the Doctor meeting somebody important in history. And these are also now available stateside and physical and ebook. The first one is Frida Kahlo and the Skull Children. And I believe that's a 10th Doctor one. I believe Charles Darwin and the Silurians is I think that's a 13th Doctor, could be 10th. And then the Rani Elite, which is an audiobook.
Oh, just the idea of Darwin learning about the Silurians and how that would like totally F with everything he has ever thought.
Yes.
About
the Silurian survival.
Yeah. That would just like mess with everything he has ever thought about the evolution of species and the age of species on the planet Earth.
Okay, yeah, I take that back. They are both 10th Doctor.
Yeah. Oh my.
So those are the voting choices. And Rani Elite got picked well for reasons.
Yes. May not become obvious sooner rather than later.
Exactly, yes. Oh. There was a method to my madness in that one. Yeah.
Yep.
Big publishers don't have a monopoly on great stories. Support indie authors like J.M. Angerwerden and dive into gripping sci-fi adventures. His books are available now on Amazon. Go check them out.
All right. Feedback. That's a feedback from Shalane. She says, feedback and happy Pride Month to all our queer friends. Said, hey girls, here's some thoughts from me this week. Didn't Randy Quaid come to FanX before? I don't know. Chrissy would probably know, but unfortunately Chrissy cannot join us this week, so that's a possibility. I don't know. I guess we could Google it, I guess, if we really wanted to, but where's the fun in that? You know, Googling is so just like, 2010. So all right. Now on to Zootopia. I'm so excited for Zootopia 2. The first Zootopia is actually my 5th favorite non-Princess Disney movie, right after The Lion King, Hercules, Lilo and Stitch, and Tarzan, and just before Encanto. Speaking of Encanto, I don't think I mentioned this when you covered it on Gold Standard. Encanto is the first Disney musical that isn't a princess movie since Tarzan. Some people think Mirabelle counts as a Disney princess because she comes from a powerful family, but I'd say she's more of an honorary princess, like Anna and Elsa were before they were officially added. Though honestly, I do count Anna and Elsa as part of the princess lineup, especially since they were included in that princess scene and Ralph breaks the internet. Anyway, I'll be patient when you get to Zootopia. That is true. Although now, technically, both Anna and Elsa have been queens. So that's a little different. But anyway, when Zootopia 2 comes out, my friend and I are planning a double feature with Wicked for Good, just like we did with Wicked Part 1 and Moana 2. Also, me and a couple of friends are planning to dress up like Judy and It for Halloween. We're kind of like them in real life, so it just fits. So going back to Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers, I found that comparison to the OG Avengers on social media. Also came across a timeline of where everything falls in a post-Endgame story. I'll send that your way soon, and she did. One last fun tidbit, I read that The Devil Wears Prada 2 is coming out next May. I'll believe that when I see it. Because for a while there, and she even teased it, that we were supposed to be getting Legally Blonde 3, and then it turned into an Amazon prequel series. I'm just saying. I'll believe it when I see it. Now I understand why Chrissy didn't join you girls for the Wizard of Oz, the Road to El Dorado, Apollo 13, and Sense and Sensibility episodes. You haven't all been together since the Bluey episode. Speaking of Bluey, I watched all 3 seasons. Now I'm just waiting for the next one to drop on Disney+. I also realized I totally forgot about the Bluey mini episodes. They're super fun, too. Yes, they are. Bluey rocks. Thank you, Shalane, for your feedback. As always.
Fandom is better when we share it together. Support the Fiveish Fangirls on Patreon to help keep us celebrating the things we love, one episode and one tangent at a time. Join us at patreon.com/FiveishFangirls.
All right, moving on to this week's main topic. We can get our soapboxes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we're done with this, we're not really going to put them away. We're just going to set them aside because we're going to need them on Wednesday. So
yeah, exactly.
We go back to next stop everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're going to be talking, as alluded to last episode. Now that we've had the finale, we're going to be talking about all of the numbering system for Doctor Who is almost as bad as the unit dating system.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, do you want to call this series 15? 2.5? To be, not to be, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because it's getting a little funky.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. I mean, it is the 15th series since the show returned 20 years ago.
Correct.
So,
and series 2 or 2.5 with Disney, if we count the specials as a half season.
Yeah. The second series with Russell T Davies as the showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think necessarily the Dell Disney Plus streaming thing really should factor into it, because Doctor Who is just it's jumped around from streaming services.
Yes, it has.
Streaming has become a thing. I mean, originally when I got into Who, I was watching it on Netflix. So
yep.
Yeah. I don't think the streaming service really matters.
Yeah, that's with the classic Who. That was kind of my try before I buy it, and then I'm just like, girl, you gotta, it's like Pokemon. Gotta have them all.
Gotta catch them all. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I don't think that counts. I would think just counting how many seasons, series, whatever you want to use since the show. If we're talking new Who,
right?
And this is series 15. So
yes,
I think that's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
When counting, because I mean they do that with classic Who. They didn't start when the show went on hiatus for 18 months. They didn't start the count over again once it finally came back.
No.
So I don't think that that's necessarily the way to go about it. So I think yeah, I'm gonna consider this series 15, season 15 of New Who. So yeah. And this is like I said, Russell T Davies' second season since returning as showrunner. This is Ncuti Gatwa's second full season as the Doctor, and apparently his last.
I'm gonna put an asterisk by that one.
Yeah.
And even though people are saying yes, it is, and with some of the interviews,
he did post on goodbye on social media.
Yes. But then I'm wondering too if this isn't some sort of super duper secret long haul play, but then again,
I don't think so.
I don't, which knowing just from what I've seen of his interviews, he's a pretty straight shooter, where Russell, you really can't, some of the stuff he says, you can take it as is, but then sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because you just don't. Yeah.
I'll read this what Ncuti posted. And I guess you can interpret it as you
As you will.
Wish at this point until we get word, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So
yeah.
He posted, when you get cast, at some point you're going to have to hand back that sonic screwdriver and it's all going to come to an end. But nothing quite prepares you for it. This journey has been one that I will never forget and a role that will be part of me forever. There are no words to describe what it feels like to be cast as the Doctor, nor are there words to explain what it feels like to be accepted in this iconic role that has existed for over 60 years and is truly loved by so many across the globe. The fans are truly the final character and beating heart of this show, and I can't thank the Hooniverse and the Whovians enough for welcoming me in and making this such a touching experience. I've loved every minute of it, but now is the time to hand over the keys to that beloved blue box and let someone else take control and enjoy it every bit as much as I have. I'll truly miss it and forever be grateful to it and everyone that's played a part in my journey as the Doctor. That's a pretty solid goodbye.
But yeah, Big Finish, you better have him sign something because I need more.
Yeah.
I need more of this Doctor, please and thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So, but let's talk about this journey of Shooties with this season, which saw a new companion. With a nurse named Belinda Chandra.
Yes.
And the occasional popping up of Ruby Sunday.
Yeah.
Which we had seen Varada previously in Boom.
Yeah.
And it was her performance in that Russell T Davies was like, "Oh, she's so good. I wish that we could have included her more." And then he's like, "Duh, they've been reusing faces in Doctor Who for forever."
Yes.
Like literally since the first Doctor's run,
era.
They have been reusing faces, reusing people in multiple roles.
Yeah.
So this was not that uncalled for, all things considering. So yeah, when they were like, Russell T Davies was like, who are we going to have for the companion this season? They're like, boom, there you go. So, and then of course we get the continuation of Mrs. Flood and who is she and how does she play in all this?
Yep.
And some more of the with a God with a little g, gods having fun, the Doctor, and getting in the Doctor's way for things. So yeah, we start with the robot revolution, which is how the Doctor and Belinda end up coming together. Is the one of those where it's like accidentally ending up with a companion in a way, and can't quite get her home. Very reminiscent of Tegan, actually. For I think the best comparison to Classic Who, Tegan just wanted to get back to her job as a stewardess, and the Doctor just could not quite get her there.
All right.
But in this case, it's
didn't
because
complain as much.
That's true. That is true. She did it first. She discovered life with the Doctor by getting thrown into the deep end. Especially when, he immediately tries to take her home and can't because apparently May 25th, 2025 does not exist on the planet Earth. So yeah, good. Crazy stuff there. So I do like the fact that she ends up with like her little star system named after her, because a guy who had the hots for her and she maybe didn't necessarily feel the same way, bought a star and had it named after her. That is something you can actually do. Is the thing. It's really funny because that that was like the premise for that. That also happened. I chuckled because it also happens in A Walk to Remember, which we recently reviewed on Gold Standard for Patreon. And then I have actually done that for someone who is an ex from a while ago. So yeah, that's a thing you can do. Just you might want to make sure that it's money that you want to spend on person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh goodness. So but yeah, I thought that was funny. So the premise that these robots can only hear 6 words at a time and don't hear every 7th word. I thought that was very interesting, and it was the way that was written in was quite interesting, because at first you don't necessarily know that that's the case, and then you have to like really pay attention to what characters are saying. So that's, I mean, that was the season opener. Not bad.
Nope.
Yeah,
better than space babies.
Yeah, I guess so.
But then you had the cuteness of the babies, so.
And then it turns out space babies is actually going to be quite important, or one particular space baby is going to be quite important.
It's just amazing how many things tied together from series 1, the Christmas special, Joy to the World, and season 2. It's just like, okay, yep, you planned it.
Well, I read somewhere that this, I don't remember which episode it was, but part of one of these episodes was actually filmed. They started filming the same day that the 60th anniversary aired.
Oh, wow.
So that would probably explain why they were able to use one of the same space babies and they had not grown too much.
Right.
Because they filmed very close together.
And FYI, for those of you who are interested, watch the Unleashed for the season finale with said little one. It is absolutely adorable and cute.
Yeah, they like to say never work with children and animals, but every now and then you get one who's just like, oh, you're so good at this.
Yes, and this little gal is dead on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so
for a second there, she channeled a river song.
Yeah. Yeah. So she doesn't, or this episode, it's not like totally big out right out of the box, but
no,
or right out of the gates, but not a bad way to set up, kind of what's going to be our, I guess, A plot, which is getting Belinda home, while continuing your underlying plot, which is Mrs. Flood. She is still there.
Yes.
Ed popping up like a bad penny. So
yes, exactly.
So next up is Lux.
Yes.
Which sees the return, at least vocally, of Alan Cumming to Doctor Who after being in
the Witchfinders.
In the Witchfinders during Jodie Whittaker's era. Which this was fun. This was a really, really fun episode. It's a great premise. You know, of course, we have to have a lot of times when Doctor Who goes period, it tends to go pre-20th century. But in this case, it's not. It's Miami in like the 50s ish, and it is a fun episode with a really like the set, like the production design and set design for this is like, it is really good. You got this character, this cartoon kind of come to life named Mr. Ring-a-Ding, which, you know, if his animation style is kind of scratching at your brain there, going, he looks kind of familiar. That is because the guy that animated Mr. Ring-a-Ding, whatever, he's a ding-a-ling at the end of it all. Based the design on Max Fleischer's animation style, which Max Fleischer, you may not know his name, but you definitely know his
Felix the Cat
work. Yeah, Betty Boop, Popeye. He did. You know, his animation style is very distinct and very, very recognizable. So, but yeah, it's so yeah, that was kind of fun. I think it was a nice wink and a nod, actually. You know, especially considering Fleischer was kind of at the head or at the peak his animation, I guess. Like, he very much has a similar story to Walt Disney, where he worked with his brother to try to create animated films, and that sort of thing. They created their own studio, which unfortunately did not last nearly as long as Disney did. You know, yeah, he kind of reached like its peak in the 30s and in the 40s. Betty Boop being like their first big hit. But unfortunately, business-wise, things just did not work out quite the same as it did for Walt. But I still think that's a nice little nod and a wink to someone who had a big impact in animation. And then the fact that the Doctor and Belinda end up getting animated and go through different styles of animation themselves. And then we get a nice fourth wall break here a couple of times with the Doctor meeting Whovians. And the Doctor finds out that his life is a television show. Oh, I love when they go meta. So, but as it turns out, Mr. Dingleberry here,
good way to put it.
It doesn't matter, because that's just the name he's going by. But who he really is Lux. He is the god of light, essentially. So it's another one of our little G gods. Even after the defeat of Sutekh, there's still a whole pantheon of gods out there. So in this case, he is the god of light, and and he's been capturing people and trying to get power, but of course with the Doctor, Time Lord, regeneration energy, that would in theory give Mr. Ring-a-Ding / Lux all the power he needs to be able to leave the theater, and turns out that that's a bad choice. Possibly.
But this was a fun episode. This was a really, really fun episode. I mean, obviously, anytime my argument is anytime you add Alan Cumming to something that immediately classes it up like 5 bazillion%. Not that Doctor Who is not classy to begin with, but just Alan, he just brings a little something to it. So, and of course we get another little peek at Mrs. Flood, because what the Doctor is trying to do is he has this device called the Vindicator, and what he's trying to do is go to where the TARDIS will let them land and kind of use it to make a pop like a pin in time and the map of time and space, and with enough pinned locations, in theory they can triangulate, or it's supposed to be, he says triangulate, but I think they do more than 3 points, if you ask me. So maybe not literally triangulate, but eventually have enough points where they overlap, and it allows them to be like, here's where we can enter the date and time that we're trying to get to. So that's kind of the thing, is they stop to use the Vindicator, and then as soon as it only takes a couple of minutes, and then once it's done, they're supposed to pack it up and move along. But of course, anytime the Doctor stops anywhere, it has to be trouble. So, and then I say, and I mentioned this on Next Up Everywhere, I love that they have been utilizing the wardrobe. And this is one of those episodes where the wardrobe really works well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this Doctor still has a fondness for pinstripes.
Yep.
Probably because of the face that he bi-generated from. Really love pinstripes as well.
Yeah.
My guess is it's probably a bit of spillover from his bi-generation buddy there. But this is a fun episode with the time period it takes place in, with the hair and everything. So that was a lot of fun. And then next up is The Well, which sees the Doctor and Belinda end up on a abandoned mining colony where everybody's died except for one person, the cook. She is deaf. And they end up teaming up with a crew to go and try and figure out why everybody else is dead and why she is the one person left. And this is a sequel, is what this is. This is a sequel episode several years later. This is a sequel to Midnight, essentially. Yes. And we bring back the creature from Midnight, because this mining colony they landed on is what used to be called Midnight. It's the exact same planet. I thought that was really cool. I was like, whoa, there's something I did not think we would see again. So obviously we still got some ground to cover here, but even though this series and the finale did not end the way I thought it was going to,
same,
I still think that Russell T Davies is playing a bit of a long game.
Yes, that I will most definitely agree
with all of these callbacks, not just to older New Who, but also the classic era. I don't think he's doing callbacks just for the sake of nostalgia and fan service.
No, he's doing it for a reason, which is still, in my opinion, to be determined.
Yes. Yeah. And I think going back to Midnight is a great callback. It's a really great David Tennant episode. It's a really great episode with a monster
that we never see.
Mm-hmm.
And we still don't see in this one either. We just see what it does, and what it's capable of doing. And after all of this time that has passed since Midnight, it has just gotten stronger. Is able to really just F with people.
Yeah.
In a way that it didn't necessarily could in Midnight. But and you know, now that I think about it, this may be me trying to put myself in RTD's shoes, maybe a bit too much and try to think like him. But you know what else happens in the episode Midnight? That if you blink, you miss. A certain face.
Yeah.
A certain face pops up in Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I wonder if that's not intentional, that it's that specific episode that face pops up in is a face that we're going to see again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to add that to my list of things to mention during next Stop Everywhere.
Yes. I completely forgot.
Dang it, that just occurred to me.
And you just, yeah, you're right. I completely forgot about that. I was like, yeah, she did.
Yeah.
That face did show up.
Yeah. I love that, one, they cast an actual deaf actress.
Yes.
You know, she was apparently she called this one of her bucket list shows that she wanted to be on. And I love that even this, you know, in this far, far future that they're in, that even with like their fancy technology that's able to like, you know, essentially put up closed captioning for the, you know, someone who's deaf and hard of hearing, that the doctor doesn't necessarily want to use that. He wants to sign instead of using because to me that speaks to the doctor's desire and ability to connect with another person on a person-to-person level, as opposed to allowing technology be the thing that allows them to communicate. Because like I don't know sign language of any sort. My mom has tried to teach me. She learned sign language when she was a little kid. She had a deaf classmate. So my mom's been able to sign for, I won't say how long, not that she's going to hear this, but a long time. And she's tried to teach me several times throughout my lifetime, and it just doesn't stick. Like just trying to learn any other language other than, you know, my native English is just really difficult. For whatever reason, my brain is not wired to learn a foreign language and retain it long, you know, enough for it to actually be usable. So obviously, you know, as Americans, we have straightforward signing, which is just, you know, you read, you know, if you were to read something in a book or newspaper in English, you would sign it literally that way. ASL, which is American Sign Language, is more like a lot of foreign languages where your nouns, your verbs, your adjectives don't necessarily go in the order that makes sense to us English speakers. But in other countries, they have their own version of that. In this case, they have British Sign Language, which is what Ncuti and Rose, the gal playing Alice, are using in this. So I don't know if Ncuti knew how to sign before this or not, or if he learned it.
I think
I
think he learned it for this, from what I remember of watching the Unleashed for this episode.
Oh, okay, that's cool. But yeah, that's yeah, I love that they hired an actual deaf actress and that they used proper British Sign Language, and that the Doctor wanted to communicate with Alice via sign language and not allowing on her ability to read lips or use the fancy closed captioning.
Yep.
Then, of course, we get, with Midnight, kind of like the Monster of Midnight, we don't really know. They kind of left it as kind of a what if. Did we really defeat it or no?
Or did it? I think it might have lived to see another day.
Yeah.
Just from the way the episode kind of ended.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of left it, well, maybe not. And I'm just thinking, it's probably going to come back somewhere down the line and probably maybe a little bit stronger. And who knows what else it's going to have up its invisible sleeves this next time we do face it.
Yeah, that is true. A little fun fact that the 12th Doctor probably would find annoying. This episode aired on Alien Day.
4/26, yep.
4/26. And there are several references to the Alien film franchise.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if Russell's didn't surreptitiously, like, oh, that day, okay, let me pull. Hint, nod, in joke, Easter egg.
Which is funny. And it's always fun when they put like pop culture references to other stuff besides Doctor Who. But it's even funnier considering the 12th Doctor found out that there is a movie called Aliens and he found it offensive. So,
yeah.
And then next is our return of Ruby Sunday.
And the introduction of and then an introduction of a character who we quickly grow to love to hate.
Oh, yeah.
We thought we
Conrad Clark.
We thought we had issues with Alan and Belinda. No, Conrad, he taketh the cake.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. So this is actually a Dr. Light episode. The Doctor only makes a short couple of appearances. First with we see him because we get several flashbacks, so we see him with Belinda and then also him with Ruby. So, but Conrad is supposed to be this person that supposedly encountered the Doctor when he was a little boy. He became obsessed, and because because the society he grew up in is much more technologically advanced, he's able to take his experience with the Doctor and dial it up to 11 as opposed to what's his face and Rose, the conspiracy theorist.
Adam. Oh, Adam. No,
Adam.
Adam's. Oh, shoot. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
We can keep talking.
Yeah. The what's his face? Dag nabbit. Now that's gonna drive me nuts.
I'm searching, and I know you're trying to stall.
Yeah.
Clive Finch. Good old Clive.
Yes, Clive. Yes, good old Clive. Yeah, good old Clive. Oh my. But we do get a lot of unit, which is fantastic. Always a good thing.
And the return of Catherine Lethbridge Stewart. Oh, how I love thee. You're doing proud, girl.
Yep. This also sees the return of a classic Doctor Who actor. Alfie, the character Alfie, which I believe he was in the pub at the little village that Ruby and Conrad go to, if I'm remembering correctly, is played by Paul Jericho, who back in Classic Who played the Castellan.
Oh, I knew he looked familiar for some reason. I just couldn't quite put my finger on where did I see him.
which is funny because the Castellan, here's a nice little callback to our podcast episode last week. Castellan appears in Arc of Infinity Part 1 and the Five Doctors.
Yep.
So, which again, probably not a coincidence.
No.
When you think about it, because the Arc of Infinity
leads to somebody else. Yeah.
And the Five Doctors wrestle on. So the two founders of the Time Lords, this guy appeared in.
Yep.
Two stories in the classic era. So coincidence? Probably not.
No.
So yeah. But yeah, Ruby is, trying to live her life post being the Doctor's companion. And in the process, she just so happens to meet this guy who knows a little bit about the Doctor too. So she thinks they have something in common. They start dating, and it all seems all sort of hunky-dory until it's not. And this guy turns out to be the biggest piece of shit we have seen on Doctor Who in a first he strings along our girl Ruby Sunday, which is bad enough in itself.
Yep.
2, he pulls a prank, making her and Unit think that the Shriek, which is the creature that Ruby and the Doctor were chasing when he saw them in the past, that has, because as far as Unit is concerned, they have the only one and it's locked up.
Right.
And it still is, so maybe somehow another one got through. So, pulls a prank, trying to make Unit look like it turns out he's this huge conspiracy theorist. And is convinced that Unit is fake, that it's all just, it's the idea of aliens and stuff. It's all fake, and they're just using it so that they can use the taxpayers' money to fund Unit to develop weapons of mass destruction or something.
Yep.
Conspiracy theorists, it does not usually make logical sense to begin with.
Right.
So,
and then strike number 2 is when
I'm on 3. I'm already on strike number 3.
So 3 is when he calls Kate's father a coward.
I'm just third strike you're out is when you insult the Brigadier.
Them's fighting words, and them's you don't have long for this world, boy.
Yeah. Yes.
You better run.
Absolutely. It's like, like,
you don't be dissing our brig. You don't be dissing our brig.
I didn't necessarily care for him from the start.
Me either, but that one
just because I was like, this is just a bit too coincidental that Ruby meets someone who has encountered the Doctor before. But I was like, well, the Doctor does meddle quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then the whole prank thing and all that. I was like, ugh, dude, you really suck. But then he goes and insults the Brigadier and the memory of the Brigadier, and I'm like, oh no. No.
Nobody be putting hands on Kate to stop her. No, this is justifiable.
Yeah. So what Kate does after that.
Yeah.
Even though some people thought she went too far, I don't think she went far enough, to be honest.
No. In my opinion, she did not.
Yeah.
No, I think the Doctor would have been like, you sure you're finished?
Yeah. Yeah. During this season, we end up seeing Kate and the Doctor both go pretty far.
Right.
When it comes to vengeance.
Yeah.
But obviously it's Doctor Who and the Doctor is the show. But when they introduced Unit, they became almost as important as the Doctor for when the Doctor is not on Earth. especially in time periods where UNIT exists. So, because this is a Dr. Light story, it is up to Kate and UNIT to do what the to step in and try to play the role of the Doctor and save the day. And, a lot of times, the Brigadier would find himself situations where, he's like, ugh, he'd rather probably be doing something else than have to deal with some of the shenanigans that the unit gets into because of the Doctor, especially during Pertwee's era, being earthbound for so long. But UNIT has always been there to answer the call when Earth, specifically, London, really needs help, and the Doctor maybe isn't there or is there but needs backup. And we'll get to the intergalactic song contest and how what the Doctor ends up doing in there, but we know what UNIT has seen and been through, and since Kate became head of UNIT, the kind of stuff that she's had to handle. I mean, they've got their own series of Big Finish for that reason. And especially because Torchwood doesn't exist anymore as far as we know. So UNIT is the line of defense when the Doctor's not there for these types of things. So, and being the kind of the person in charge, Kate has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders.
Oh yeah.
And just like the Doctor, sometimes that pressure becomes too much. And causes them to, I mean, we've seen this before. We saw this in Day of the Doctor, where Kate was ready to detonate a nuclear warhead in the middle of London.
Yes.
Before they were able to stop that. There are 2 doctors, 3 if you got the War Doctor, were able to stop that. So yeah, Kate is not above making some very, very hard choices. And what Conrad was doing was, it's not that UNIT is like trying to be secretive just for the sake of being secretive, but it's in a way to, I hate to say this, because when like people and like parents and friends do this to their loved ones in like shows and movies, I can't stand it because it's so trite and tropey. But UNIT is trying to protect the people of planet Earth. So it's like, yeah, there's some stuff that people are going to know because it happens out in the unless you're Donna and you're completely oblivious to random crap that's happened in the middle of London throughout the years. But UNIT is kind of like your antivirus software on your computer. Yeah, you don't necessarily realize it's working in the background until something happens that is very obvious to you, and it manages to like stop it, and then you're grateful it's there. Does that make sense?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, why am I paying for this antivirus software? Because the minute that something really, really bad happens, you're going to be grateful it's there. So
yeah.
That what Conrad is doing is trying to make people question why something like this exists, and it's like, because if they hadn't been here, y'all would have been dead a billion times over at this point. Right. That's why.
You're welcome.
Yes. They're holding the line so that you all can live your lives all just cluelessly,
right?
The people of Earth that they are, And by the time we see Conrad again in the finale, his arm seems to have healed anyway, so he's fine. Unfortunately,
yeah.
For lack of, not for trying,
right.
That certainly gave him a wake-up call. You thought, at least we thought that gave him a wake-up call.
Yeah. Well, and then, it's just, I mean, even too, the doctor was getting a little, did the doctor meet Conrad? Yeah. I mean, even he was getting a little edgy when he met Conrad. It's just like, you messed with the wrong people. So his Time Lord Victorious was starting to show a bit, and it was justifiable. Yes, this doctor has gone to therapy, but there are times it's justifiable when you need to show that. You need to show how bad he can get a la Family of Blood.
Yeah.
Human
and
nature.
This is a bit, and this episode actually, timeline-wise, is actually a bit timey-wimey, because when the doctor does show up, he hasn't met Belinda yet.
Right.
So the doctor doesn't know Belinda and what her their meeting is actually going to mean. so yeah, and then of course Mrs. Flood comes along. Cause somebody I think my microphone went a little. Oh, there we go. Okay.
You're good now.
Yeah. The USB port for that is very picky. So then next is the episode I have been dreading since we got the season trailer.
Right. And it turned out to be better than what we were expecting it was going to be, but still it did have an arachnid.
It did have a giant spider in it that I did not like. Thankfully, it was more on the robotic side.
Yep.
But still, it was huge and very obviously meant to look like a spider, which no thank you. No thank you.
Rachel no likey.
No likey. That being said, really good. This is a really good episode.
Yes.
Bit of a bottle episode, actually, because most of it takes place in this barbershop.
Yep.
And the whole idea is that again, another one of our little G gods pops up. In this case, he is kind of the god of stories.
Yep.
For lack of a better. So any sort of like legends, myths that you've heard throughout time probably came from him.
And I got some American God vibes a little bit.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, the idea that if people stop believing in them, that they stop existing. That's pretty much the premise of American Gods, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So how do they make themselves relevant? In this case, it is the barber, aka our god of stories, is trying to collect enough power to be able to go and destroy essentially all the other gods. Because he's bitter. Oh, he's got a big old chip on his shoulder.
Oh yeah,
big old chip on his shoulder. But the thing is, they're the barbershop, kind of like the TARDIS, where it's bigger on the inside. But in this case, it's not just bigger on the inside. It's also a moving mode of transportation. In this case, it's a big ass metallic, robot spider. But its engine is powered by literal stories, and the idea of the neighborhood barbershop where people don't just go in and get a haircut and leave, especially in African American communities, that is a social place to hang out. I mean, we see that in Luke Cage. How much their local, their barbershop matters to them, not just for people to get haircuts and some maybe a shave, if that's something that the barber offers, but it's a community. It's a place for community to gather, and this is no different. The doctor discovered this small village in Lagos and kind of fell in love with it and got to know the people. because in this particular incarnation, being a person of color, not just being an alien, not just the Doctor doesn't have to be alien to stand out. He's black, and that makes him stand out. We see a little bit of that in Lux, where segregation is still a thing, even in Miami, Florida. Which, if it was 30 years in the future, the Golden Girls would be like, come sit with us, darling. Yeah. So, but of course, the Doctor has got so many stories, and very powerful stories. It's through the storytelling, and then actually the stories that get told to him in the process allows him and Belinda to end up stopping the barber from enacting his revenge plot. And then this one actually ends kind of on a happy ending. They convince the barber to take a look at what he's doing and like, what purpose is this really going to serve? Like a lot of revenge stories, it's like, okay, great, you get your revenge. Is that really going to make you feel better? Probably not. It doesn't help that he is being encouraged by this woman who turns out to be a woman from the Doctor's past, and I guess at one point was supposed to marry.
Under some sort of a bet,
and sort of, the sort of circumstances.
Abby was her name.
And she herself has gone by many names throughout the eons that she's been alive, just like the barber. And they're able to stop him, and actually, the people that have been trapped in there are finally free and go back to the family, and actually the barber ends up taking over the barber shop, allowing the Doctor's friend to retire.
Sorry. And this is where we get the little blink and you miss tie-in with Space Babies, because Belinda is trapped within the TARDIS. She's trying to find the Doctor. And I think that Poppy's little wave was trying to signal, hey, he here.
And we also get a nice little return of Joe Martin as the fugitive Doctor.
I was not expecting that little cameo.
Yeah. So, again,
all right.
Another little callback to previous Who. RTD is just reminding us, hey, there's some stuff out there that's kind of important.
Yep.
Possibly. The Enua Elms, who wrote this story, I believe they mean the Doctor Who website, but you can actually the story that Omo tells about his first meeting with the Doctor is more fleshed out on the Doctor Who website.
Yes.
It's called What I Did on My Holidays by Omo Esosa. Yeah, it's a short story version of, but it's a slightly longer, more fleshed out version of the story that Omo tells in the episode. So, and so is the Abina, the story she tells about how slaves would hide maps in braids, in the weaving of hair. That is absolutely accurate. That slaves would do that. Really cool. That's I love when they're able to pull bits of information from other cultures that people may not necessarily know as well. So that's very cool. Oh, and this I mean, other than the giant spider, which thankfully did not have a lot of screen time, but still, anything with more than 4 legs, it's just wrong. Thankfully I was able to, cover the eyeballs, and once it was gone, I was like, okay, we're good. We're back. No more big ass spider. But I understand the symbolic nature of it, weaving stories, weaving a web. What creates webs? Spiders. Metaphor, symbolism, something like that. All right. Next up is episode that made me lose my freaking mind.
Yes, I pretty much everybody, I think.
But especially me. This episode made me lose my absolutely just any. I'm gonna struggle to talk about it now, and it's been weeks. I'm just like,
the theory that was like, no, that's never gonna happen. Well, guess what? It happened.
Guess what? Oy. Russell T Davies is gonna be the death of me. Oy. So yes, the Interstellar Song Contest, which when that popped on the list of episode titles, we're like, ooh, because the Doctor's already been to Eurovision / Intergalactic Song Contest and a big we've covered this Big Finish. I'll have to remember to put a link to it in the show notes when we talk about Bang a Boom.
Russell kind of missed the boat on that little nod, but oh well.
You know what? I don't know if he necessarily missed it or if it was just like maybe there had been a nod to it and it just didn't make it into the episode.
Yeah, could be.
Although the Doctor does mention that he was there at Eurovision the year that ABBA won.
Right.
It couldn't have been that much harder to say, hey, I've been to these a couple of times.
Right. I even got to play spoons on stage.
Like, one of these I won by playing the spoons. Missed opportunity, Russell. But that's okay. Because what he did do made up for it.
Oh, yeah. More than made up for it.
Even if I did lose my absolute freaking mind. Of course, this aired the same evening as the 2025 Eurovision Song Contest grand finale.
Yep.
Ncuti was actually originally due to be the UK spokesperson to be like, hey, time to vote. But was, quote, due to unforeseen circumstances, unfortunately no longer able to participate. And he was actually replaced by Sophie Ellis Bextor, whose mother, Janet, actually was in the classic Who story, The Horns of Nimon. So they still kept it in the Doctor Who family. But it's just so funny because every time somebody brings this up, I'm like, well, yeah, unforeseen circumstances. He got sucked into the vacuum of space. He was a little busy.
Yes.
That's why he wasn't able to make his appearance.
Uh-huh.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Ncuti Gatwa was actually sucked into space, and that's why he wasn't able to be the spokesperson for the United Kingdom. So, not that it mattered because the UK did not win. Right. Anyway. I don't think the UK has won it in a while, actually.
Ooh, I don't think so.
Oh my.
Yeah, this is where we see the Doctor starting to get a little more angry with how often Belinda's getting put into danger, especially when he deals with Kid. And it's justifiable. I mean, it was, like I had said on Next Stop Everywhere, it was almost like seeing the 10th Doctor from Human Nature Family of Blood, with just how ticked that he was. Because I mean, he thought Belinda was gone, and then Belinda thought the Doctor was gone from what she saw, and it was just like, then Belinda had to do her Donna moment and say, hey, stop. I am here and move on.
Yeah. Yeah, because this was, I mean, the thing is like this is one of those episodes where it starts out kind of on the really fun side. Yeah. You know, because the Doctor and Belinda end up in an unused box at the song contest, and that's because the couple that was supposed to be in that box arrived late. And we get to see some of the performances. Fairly certain that one stood out among others because it is now available in a number of iterations off on YouTube. There's just the performance. There's the 10-hour looping version.
There's a 24/7 looping.
There's a 24/7 version. Other people have been taking it and doing their own edits.
Somebody did a
which I'm so glad, because it even stood out to me watching the episode. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh, I want more of that."
It's the Doctor Who's version of
more Dugadoo than you ever really want in your entire.
Yep. Yep. So basically, Doctor Who pulled a Muppets a la Mana.
Yes, a little bit. A little bit. Oh my god, but the character's so cute and the song is just so catchy.
Thank you and darn you, Murray Gold.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what drugs you're on. I'm glad you were at that time. Don't ever do them again.
Yes. Not unless if it's absolutely freaking necessary.
Yes. Exactly. But it's like, because it starts off like, kind of on the happier side. I mean, there's some we're us Americans are a little lost. Because we I don't know who the host guy is. Ryan Clark. Like, I don't know who he is. We even had to, when we talked about it on Next Up Everywhere, had to look it up and see who it was, and all of us Americans are like,
he did like X Factor. He's done the song contest.
He's the Ryan Seacrest of the UK, apparently.
Right. And then me being the foodie that I am, there's a kind of a UK British version cooking channel, and I've seen him host a couple of cooking shows. So yeah,
I don't know.
Ryan Seacrest, yes, perfect analogy, yes.
Yeah. So apparently this guy's the Ryan Seacrest of the UK, and apparently he was so good at his job that they just kept cryogenically freezing him and then letting him loose when it was song contest time.
And then poor old Graham Norton.
Yes, and then a nice hologram appearance by Graham Norton. I was like, I know who he is.
Oh yes,
and he's long. He is a long-standing connection to Doctor Who. Like, everybody on Doctor Who has been on his show. Multiple times.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, like especially New Who people have been on his show multiple times. He is, he is the Letterman Jay Leno of the UK. He is a talk show that if you're promoting anything,
you'll be on it.
You appear on the Graham Norton show. But his thing is like, it's just one couch, so all the guests have to sit together. You're not sat. It's not like multiple chairs in a row like some late night talk shows. It's just one big couch, and you just kind of squeeze all in there. But there's some funny appearances of some of our favorite British actors, and sometimes not. If they got something to promote, and it's gonna, like a movie or something, and it's gonna be, worldwide release, part of their press junket is gonna be the Graham Norton show for that part of the world. But yeah, it was nice appearance by Graham Norton. I was like, I know who he is. I'm not completely lost, which is always a good thing. Don't want to be lost. Especially when getting bad news. Somehow bad news just sounds not as bad when coming out of a mouth that's got a British accent. So So when we find out that the Earth was destroyed,
yeah,
it's from
hologram
of Graham Norton. Yeah,
and unknown reason as to why.
But but once again, there are some nods and Easter eggs to some classic Who in this, because the Cora Saint Bavier is from the planet Tryon, which is where Turlo came from. He was a Fifth Doctor companion. So
yes, he was the one who tried to take out the Doctor. We forgive him. It was got brainwashed.
That's a fun little nod there. It's like they were ramping up. Like, here, we're just gonna give you a little nod here. Like, oh, that's a planet Turlo's from. Oh, that's a fun connection. And because the Doctor and Belinda have been separated, things get a little wacky, because they've been separated before, but not like this, because they knew that they had just been temporarily separated, and they could do what they need to do, and eventually they would reconnect. In this case, each one thinks that the other's dead, so they're like, okay, I gotta put on the big boy or big girl pants now and figure out how the hell I'm gonna get myself out of this situation. And that's exactly what Belinda does. But at the same time, the Doctor has the Doctor has seen loss. And that is the thing. And when he comes across Kid, who essentially wants to commit genocide on a scale that would probably make Davros proud.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking more than what happened with Gallifrey.
Yes,
once we get down to it, I mean,
this is death on a scale that
civilization.
Davros, the Daleks, Rassilon himself would probably be proud of the amount of destruction that this dickhead was trying to accomplish.
Oh yeah.
And while the Doctor has is aware that he is not the one that destroyed the Time Lords by ending the Time War, because that was a lot of the guilt and anger that our previous incarnations carried around until until we found out that the Time Lords and Gallifrey was not destroyed. Takes Capaldi's Doctor to free them, and then they're free for a little bit, and then the crazy master comes along and kills them all. At least we think kills them all. And but the Doctor has still seen loss, especially when it comes to companions. Either they leave or sometimes they die. Obviously Adric was like one of the first big ones that they killed off a companion, but we've seen others since then. And I mean, this was kind of just being face to face with another like megalomaniac person out for revenge, death, and destruction, which just one too many times, and this Doctor loses it. And kind of pulls a Kate in Lucky Day and lets this guy have it.
Yeah.
And it's brutal.
X number of people, let's do this X number of times and see how you like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal, but at the same time I'm kind of like, I kind of understand where you're coming from, Doctor. Like, do I like seeing it happen? No. Do I like that the Doctor gets pushed to that point? Seemingly over and over again? No. One person should not carry that amount of guilt, weight on their shoulders, by one single person. but I think it's I don't necessarily condone it, but I think it's justified.
Oh yeah.
To be honest with you. And then Belinda's the one that manages to, stop him. Which is good, because up to this point, Belinda is still learning life with the Doctor.
Right.
In every single episode, she is encountering something new and unusual and just outright, beyond anything of her comprehension. Although the Intergalactic Song Contest, bit more familiar. And
I love how once they find out what it is, they both want to stay. They don't try to head back to the TARDIS to get her back home. No, they're just like, oh no, we're in.
Yeah, we're in. Oh, like popcorn. TARDIS can give us popcorn, drinks, snacks. Absolutely. So yeah, it's fantastic acting on Ncuti's part.
Oh, yes.
To be honest. And of course Mrs. Flood is there. And so this is supposed to be like the last point that the Doctor needs to get data from with the Vindicator. But it's an intergalactic song contest, so they're like, yeah, let's stay. But meanwhile, Mrs. Flood is like, woohoo, thank you very much, Doctor. And of course, we're all like, Mrs. Flood, what are you trying to do? And we'll get to that in a moment. But as the Doctor is kind of struggling, psychologically with everything in the process, gets a vision of Susan. And it's it's just a blip. It's just a couple of blips. But it's Carol Ann Ford making her return. We have not seen her in television since the Five Doctors.
Right.
So, for a lot of fans, this was really, really exciting. I mean, it's also been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I think so as well, in my personal opinion. Yeah, it was exciting to see her, but also part of me was how like, yeah, this is something that wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Thankfully we got that lovely appearance with some of the other classic companions at the end of Jodie's era, but Susan being the OG companion, the very first one, it's people have been angling for her to come back, and she's been spotted like on set in the past. Like she came and visited when Capaldi was the Doctor, and there are pictures of them together on the set of his TARDIS interior. So, but people have just been like really, 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 because I mean we are almost those first two Doctor eras, the black and white Doctor eras. We are losing
our actors.
Those cast members, much faster than I'm sure we would like. Yeah, it is.
I was saying on Next Step Everywhere, we need to get Fraser Hines somewhere in a series episode ASAP, please and thank you.
Yeah, it's because those folks, we just have a handful of them left, unfortunately. And honestly, a lot of the classic era, you figure Doctor Who is over 60 years old, and when some of those people were on Doctor Who, they weren't necessarily young to begin with, and even if they were, it's been 60 years.
Yeah.
So, even if they were like in their 20s,
yep,
you're looking at people that are now in their 80s.
Yep.
Or 90s. I mean, Tom is in his 90s.
Yes.
So, and he's fourth Doctor.
Right.
but you're talking the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. That is still almost 50 years ago. So, we're the time is not our friend.
No,
unfortunately.
Mistress.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of like that with Star Trek too. Like our OG Star Trek, like we have like what, like 3 of like the main cast left.
Yeah.
We got Shatner, we got Takai, and we've got Koenig.
Yep.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
For like the OG Star Trek cast. So.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, seeing the return of Susan, Carol Ann Ford was very much, and again, I think they probably telegraphed this a little with the whole Susan twist.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny when you think about it, because like the Susan twist, and people are like, oh, maybe she's Susan. No, but her name is actually Susan Twist. So the Susan twist. So yeah, and then we find out that the reason that that Belinda cannot return home supposedly is because Earth was destroyed. Thank you, Graham Norton. Thankfully, the Doctor was planning ahead. In the chance that the audience was going to be in danger, and expanded the oxygen ish, kind of, although a lot of people were still frozen, but was more like cryogenic freezing, as opposed to like what happens to like Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2,
right?
When you get jettisoned into space. So in the process of all that and saving all the people, and the Doctor is able to utilize the people around him and play to their strength, something the Doctor does very well. They manage to save everybody and get the TARDIS back, which is always a good thing as well. And all the singers, all the audience members, everybody's saved. And the last person to get defrosted is Mrs. Flood. And it turns out that that damaged her internals, and she is now going to have to regenerate because she's a time lady. And instead of regenerating, she bi-generates. And we find out who Mrs. Flood actually is.
Yep.
The Roddy.
Yep.
Yep.
See, it's been weeks. And I'm still like, oh my god, I can't believe they brought out the Roddy. Oh my god.
The best well-kept secret.
Oh my god, I had no idea. If you asked me to put money on that, I would have been like, no.
Her. She did fantastic for keeping that under her hat.
Oh my god. Oh, I just, if you listen to that episode of Next Stop Everywhere, you get to hear my inhuman squealing.
Yes. Yes.
So, but yeah, just like, y'all know, the people have been with us for almost 11 years now.
Yeah. A few of us had our flag firmly planted of the
when it comes to Doctor Who. Yeah, when it comes to Doctor Who and the things that they have brought back, my flag has permanently, at least I thought until now, was permanently planted in the hill of bring back the Ronnie. Back.
Yes.
Please and thank you. That hill I was willing to die on.
For a minute there with your reaction, we almost thought you did.
Yeah, I thought I was going to die of happiness is what I thought I was going to die of. So, but yeah, they brought the Roddy. I'm so happy. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I was a happy camper to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure all of our our listeners that know me are like, I think I hear Rachel screaming from here.
Yep. Oh yeah. Because I mean, I was just like, because I was up at stupid o'clock to watch that when it happened, and I was constantly, every single time I got a notification, like, did Rachel
Is it
watch
Rachel?
it?
Is it Rachel?
Is it
Is it
Rachel?
Rachel?
Is it Rachel?
Is it Rachel?
Yeah. I was waiting for you to.
Yeah, and again, it was one of those days where I had been out doing stuff and it didn't get back until late. And finally sat down to watch it.
And this is while I did not get spoiled.
This is while I was cat sitting over for my brother while he was away. And one of the cats, as soon as I started losing my mind, it was making all sorts of incoherent noises. One of the cats came in the room and was looking at me like I lost my mind. Like, what the F is wrong with you, lady? And at some point, I made some noise that made her jump like 5 feet in the air, turn around and run the other direction.
Like, I'm out. She scared me.
Yeah. So, yeah, to say that I was, my reaction was strong is putting it mildly. So, yeah, I was just like, what? Who? He? Hi? So, yeah, this was the return of the Ronnie to television in 32 years. The Ronnie does have a couple of Big Finish audios, which may or may not both be covered before the year's out, because we still have 2 birthdays to go this calendar year.
Not that we're playing our hand or anything.
I did not strong arm anybody into anything. I was just a suggestion.
And we kind of all jumped on it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, because I know, Brittany said she'd been struggling on what to pick anyway. So, I just give a suggestion. Just saying. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, the Ronnie does have just a couple of Big Finish audios. They've not done a whole lot. Because those Big Finish audios were originally intended for Kate O'Mara.
Right. Who had sadly
unfortunately she passed away before they were able to record them. She gave Big Finish permission to recast. So that is why it's not Kate O'Mara in Big Finish. But hopefully now with the Ronnie's return to television, then maybe that means Big Finish will give us a little more.
And maybe sign on to certain actors or actresses, shall we say?
Maybe. Just saying, Big Finish. You are always, we're always throwing suggestions out there for you free of charge.
Yes.
This is another one of those times. Just saying. Yeah. Yep. That should be our unofficial hashtag tagline. Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
You looking for new story ideas for line ranges? We got them. Might make your website go down for a couple of weeks, because I think some people would be yeah, please now.
Yeah. So, like I said, free of charge. All we ask in return, put our name in the credits. Maybe a free download of said story.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah. Because our wallets make happy, fun, sad sounds when we go to visit your website.
Yeah. So incarnation wise, Kate O'Mara is the first incarnation of the Ronnie.
Yep.
I don't want to butcher her name. The gal is doing her in Big Finish. I was gonna call her Miss Redmond. because I did not want to butcher her first name. The Rani Elite and Planet of the Rani. That is the second incarnation. Mrs. Flood is the third.
Siobhan.
Yeah. So Anita Dobson, Mrs. Flood is the third, and then Archie Punjabi is the fourth incarnation. So
yep.
Like the Rani and 10 hours of Dugadoo. I'm,
yeah, a very happy girl.
I'm a happy camper. And then the penultimate episode is Wish World. Not necessarily an alternative timeline. It's really just an alternative reality is what it is.
Yeah. That's,
Thanks to...
Which may or may not have lasting consequences.
Yes.
Based off of reality work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is a alternative reality brought on through the combination of the Rani, we'll say the Rani, there's the Mrs. Flood Rani, and then, the more, looks more like the Rani, like the Rani with dress, Rani, and Conrad.
Yeah.
Teaming up, because the Rani, who does not have a TARDIS, but instead has a time ring, which, similar to Jack Harkness's vortex manipulator, dirty way to time travel. I thought it was.
Yep.
Yeah, dirty way to time travel, but it gets the job done. And considering that the Rani
point A
is
to point B.
Yes, and considering the Rani is very much a lover of the scientific method, whatever gets the job done, she's all for it. But so she kidnaps this poor little baby. And there's this folk legend that the seventh son of a seventh son, if a seventh son of a seventh son is to be born, that baby will be born with special abilities. So that's where they're pulling that from. Once again, thank you, RTD and the script writers and all the writers for giving us, some tales, some folklore, some legend, some history that people may not necessarily know. And so the Rani kidnaps that baby, and this particular baby's special abilities is that he is essentially another god with a little g. In this case, he's the god of wishes, and you can kind of tell the baby your wish, and he can make it come true. So that baby is given to Conrad, and Conrad gets to wish his ideal world into existence. But because Conrad is so very much like a lot of villains, full of himself, and not very good at forethought or planning for all potential factors. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but that's what came to mind. So all potentialities. He doesn't while he's aware of the doctor, he is not necessarily aware of the doctor being able to if the doctor gets brainwashed, the doctor does not stay brainwashed very long, is one thing you should really know about the doctor. Even when the doctor has done the brainwashing to himself, as we saw in Family Blood. So, and Conrad also forgot about Ruby, because this is my theory, is he thought so little of Ruby that he did not consider her a threat, which he absolutely should have.
You're right.
But in this alternate reality, the doctor, calling himself John Smith, of course, and Belinda are a married couple. They have a baby, a daughter named Poppy, who is played by the same actress, adorable little actress who plays Poppy in Space Babies.
Yes.
So she's so cute. Those cheeks, you just want to pinch them.
Oh, I know.
That and her hair is just like,
yes.
She's
and the way she comes in, she goes meow. It's like, are you a cat? Yeah. Are you saying you want a cat? I mean, so cute, so cute.
Yeah, she's adorable. But yeah, there's supposed to be this perfect world where everybody is just like, Conrad is the ultimate. It's very 1984 is what it is. Very lot of nods to 1984. Some intentional, probably some maybe not so much. And Conrad is kind of big brother, and everyone just kind of complies. And his hatred of Unit, what does he do? But in this reality, Unit is an insurance company, like the most boring thing I guess you could possibly think of. And of course the doctor, John Smith, works there. But anybody who has a thought that deviates from what Conrad has built, sometimes if it's a real minor thing, if there's a coffee cup nearby, it slips through whatever it's sitting on, usually a table, and falls to the ground and cracks, which apparently in Hawking's A Brief History of Time, he uses a metaphor about a broken teacup. So this is kind of an homage to that. I've never actually read A Brief History of Time. Makes sense. And of course, because Ruby remembers everything, she's trying to do what she can to try and break the doctor free of and then there's a whole group of like people who mainstream society would consider others, people with disabilities, that sort of thing. They're kind of forgotten by all society. They're not, they exist, but the drones of the people who get up and go to work and all that, those people are just kind of not seen, except Ruby sees them, so they're able to team up and all this stuff. And thankfully, eventually stuff happens, and the doctor and Belinda end up get taken to the headquarters or whatever. And the doctor gets his memory jogged thanks to the Ronnie. We get a nice little shot of Kate O'Mara's Ronnie, she's like, yes, I had a different face then, which is absolutely lovely. It was fantastic to see her in that, that little flashback. Thankfully, also the doctor's memory gets a little jogged because we also get a surprise appearance from Rogue, played by Jonathan Groff. So they managed to find
someone who made the doctor aware of said
weirdness with the cups and stuff. He's like, tables don't do that.
Yeah.
I love that. And it was nice to see Jonathan Groff too. Yes. So they managed to grab him for the 5 seconds that he is not currently on Broadway, to get him to film a little something that they could easily slip in because he appears on a television, so they don't have to worry about fitting him in green screen or whatever. They can pop him onto a TV and it looks perfectly like it fits right in. Hopefully also that means that there's a possibility that we could still see Rogue again in the future in more than just a short little cameo. If we can get Jonathan away, we get Jonathan away from the stage for longer than 5 seconds. Yeah, the Tony Awards are coming up. I know he's up for Tony again. So he's a little busy. I love Jonathan Groff. He's fantastic. He's so talented. So one of these days his name will get pulled from the hat.
Yes.
So but yeah, thankfully it gets the doctor's memory conked loose long enough for him to, you know, come back to the now that is, you know, the now then, and recognize the Ronnie and allows the Ronnie to, you know, do what all baddies do, is unveil her master plan, her big idea, and that is to bring back Omega.
Yep.
Which is why it was so funny that we did that particular Big Finish audio last week, Chrissy.
And to let you know, that was even before we knew what this grand big plan was. It just happened to be serendipitous.
She'd already picked it.
Yeah.
And then we get the episode, and I was like, I wanted to be in the chat. I'm like, Chrissy, are you some sort of, like, you know, can you tell the future or something? What's going on here?
Did you happen to know that's 6 lottery numbers?
A little bit. And again, something that I mentioned on Next Stop Everywhere after the Intergalactic Song Contest, when they were reading, I think, Dave's feedback, and something Dave said made me think, what if this is a build-up to either bring back Rassilon or Omega? First I was thinking Rassilon.
Right.
I was like, but then there's Omega too. And then the rest of y'all were like, oh yeah, you know, that could be a possibility. You know, so, you know, we kept that on the table as a thing. And then the following week, that's exactly what happened. And I'm like, we called it!
Yes, we did.
And then we get the finale, which is the reality war. Which is kind of all hands on deck.
Yeah.
At this point, you know, we get, you know, once a doctor breaks free the mind control, he's able to start breaking other people free thanks to the help of Anita, coming full circle from Joy to the World. She now works at the Time Hotel, and apparently is in a relationship with the guy from HR and is expecting a baby boy. Which I think was really cute.
Yes.
I wonder if the actress herself wasn't pregnant, and they were like,
that's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
For, you know, just the one-off appearance. Second one-off appearance. It's like, yeah, we've tried that in there. That is able to bring back, you know, obviously Ruby was already kind of with it, but knock Belinda out of the mind control, knock all of UNIT out of the mind control. I love that Kate's like, why am I wearing tweed?
Yeah.
That's Kate's first complaint. She gets woken up, she's like, I'm wearing tweed.
You were running an insurance agency for a while there, Toots.
Yeah. It was like, says the woman whose father pretty much lived in his military garb for his entire run as the brigadier. So like, you know, like, if you like, you know, you wear what you wear, and you like it, and yeah, that's all there is to it. But yeah, Kate did look a little ridiculous in the tweed, to be honest with you. So oh my. Mel.
But now her and Ibrahim make a cute couple.
Yes, they do. No, wonder if that will continue on. Maybe after off screen.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, we get Mel, and the Ronnie get to face each other again. I love that.
Oh yes.
Mel's reaction, I'm like, oh yes. I was like,
she was.
You have been waiting a long time to tell Ronnie off.
Yeah, considering she stole your clothes and stole your identity.
Yeah. That was absolutely fabulous. So everybody kind of has to again, the doctor getting people to using the power of the time hotel and allowing real time to flow in and wake everybody up. But once again, the doctor does what the doctor kind of does best, is utilize people using their skills and abilities. And this is no different. Ruby is the one to go take care of Conrad. They're like, it's like, you're gonna go take after Conrad. She's like, can I punch him? And Kate's like, absolutely,
yeah. If you want to do more than punch him, go for it. I mean, that's basically that's kind of what I was reading in between the lines. Like, yeah, do your worst, dear.
Yeah, because there's this whole.
We will come bail you out. We have bail.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, unit will be like, he says he got punched, but that doesn't.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not inclined to believe him. Are you? No, okay. And unit doing their thing with the technology and the laser cannons, because the giant bone monsters, the Ronnie sicks the bone monsters onto the unit tower, and everybody kind of just, it's some people who are because this world is based on everything that Conrad knows, or what he thinks the world should be like. So some people disappear completely, like Donna's Rose, who is now works at Unit, so she reappears. The Conrad was trying to trap the doctor by putting him in, a more stereotypical life where he's married, has a wife, has a kid, just gets up, eats breakfast, goes to work, lather, rinse, repeats. But even as time and realities, because as long as Conrad's reality exists, it allows the barrier between worlds to thin, and therefore allow Omega to be freed, because he is in his antimatter bubble universe, whatever. And the Ronnie wants to bring him back so that she can help rebuild Gallifrey and the Time Lords, because she was able to avoid the genocide that the Master conducted, because she's a scientist. She's able to alter herself so that it did not kill her. But now this is an interesting thing, them saying that the Time Lords are infertile.
Right. I'm thinking it was because of whatever with that blast. I think that's probably happened. Because I don't think typically they are supposed to be, unless we're going back to the lung barrel story.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's like, is it they're is it they're infertile? Because as far as we know, at least those of us that have got, dipped into the expanded universe, that supposedly the thing is if you're talking Time Lords or you're really talking Gallifreyans.
Right.
Aren't created the way that... Yeah, they're not created the way us Earthlings procreate. They are loomed.
Right.
And you just need the DNA. And just like you would use a loom to create weaving anything, if you've ever seen any type of weaving loom, they loom Gallifreyans. So when the Ronnie says they're infertile, does that mean that just their DNA isn't usable? Because obviously they still exist, so they have to have the Time Lord DNA.
Right.
Which is different than the Gallifrey, because Gallifreyans, it's like the people who live on Gallifrey, if you're native to the planet, everybody's a Gallifreyan, but not everybody's a Time Lord. You have to earn the title of Time Lord by going through the academy, looking into, we've seen with the Sound of Drums and everything, looking into the void, the whatever you want to call it. And that activates the third strand of DNA, and that's what allows Time Lords the ability to regenerate. So that's how you become a Time Lord. So not every Gallifreyan is a Time Lord or lady. So are they saying that like their DNA is not compatible with the process of creating new Gallifreyans who could potentially become Time Lords? Because infertility for them is different than it would mean for us. Right. I would think, just because of how they procreate. And I mean, even if they weren't infertile, as far as we know, there's the only 2 left in existence anyway. So you can't create a whole new, new generations of Gallifreyans with 2 people. Just genetically, that does not work. You got to have biodiversity and genetic diversity. So, but because Omega is like the Time Lord, although as we discussed when talking about the Omega Big Finish, while Omega is, as far as legend is concerned, he is the first person to attempt time travel and develop what would become Gallifreyan and Time Lord society. Rassilon is the one that ultimately was successful with the Eye of Harmony and everything, but Omega still gets credit-ish. He also gets credit for being a genocidal megalomaniac, which part of that is correct. And it turns out that the legends of Omega, even after all this time, apparently have fed into his remains that have been in the antimatter universe, bubble, whatever. So now he is like, it's not the Omega that we recognize from Classic Who. He is another giant kind of skeleton creature, and which, I mean, I guess, it's better than having him pop out and have the weird styrofoam pyramid head thing that he was sporting in the 80s. I guess. But then he goes and eats the Ronnie.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, after all this time, you bring back the Ronnie, and this is what you do to her. She gets eaten by giant skeleton Omega.
Yep.
This is what you do to my girl after 32 years.
Well, one of your 2 girls.
One of my 2 girls. It's like, really? Like, the minute he picked her up and was swinging her around, I'm like, no. And then she went into the mouth, and he's like, ooh, tasty. I'm like, oh, this is what you do to my girl.
And then as soon as Ms. Flood sees that, she's just like, I'm taking that time ring. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And the doctor, I just love the doctor's response. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is Mrs. Flood is still out there. That version of her is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
In theory. But because they bigenerated, could the Mrs. Flood Ronnie regenerate?
Possible. Because we really haven't seen an unwritten rule how many times they can regenerate.
Yes. And they even bring this up in here, which is good. Because I know some people were like, the whole bigeneration thing was like, what the F? And, they tried to come up with a Doctor Who scientific, way of trying to explain it, that maybe bi-generation is a way to try to keep the species essentially alive. So when you get a regeneration, you get 2 instead of just a brand new one. So I guess if that theory is correct, then the Mrs. Flood Ronnie should, in theory, be able to regenerate. As long as she is still full time lady, I guess. And she has a regeneration energy to do it. But then it's like, if she was to regenerate, just regenerate, not regenerate, would she skip over the face that we've already seen that is technically the 4th Ronnie?
Right.
And move on to the 5th? Or what? See? Questions. Yeah. It's an interesting thought. So the fact that there is still, a version of the Ronnie out there makes me feel a little better. Yep. But Mrs. Flood's Ronnie never went on, because she was, and she gets meta in this too. She's like, oh, look at the police box, and she acts like how hard it was for her to be undercover.
Right.
So we never got to
see. Good job.
Yeah. So it's like, I like that they brought that up, because people complained about the personality change after the bi-generation. And I was like, well, we just saw Mrs. Flood, and that was a character she was playing. So we never really got to see that one's personality until she was one of 2. And we always know with Time Lords, when they counter another Time Lord, especially a version of themselves, that the personality we've come to know isn't necessarily the personality we see, because they get very jealous and egotistical of themselves. So established personality traits sometimes go out the window when you have multiple Time Lords, especially multiple versions of the same Time Lord in the same place. So I had no problem with that. So, but yeah, it's interesting, the open thread there with Mrs. Flood, what the potential is there. Is like, could she regenerate or bi-generate? And hopefully that means that we get the Ronnie again in the future and not be another 32 freaking years. And of course the Doctor's able to defeat Omega because of the Vindicator. He's got all that energy or whatever in it that he never got to use to get Belinda home. And it's like, there you go. Nice, big, you wanted a meal, Omega, here you go. It's like in UHF, you get to drink from the fire hose.
Yep. It's like that Vindicator was just right down. It's like, oh boy, yep.
Yeah.
You're toast.
Exactly. So, which again, like, I was excited for them to bring back Omega.
Yeah, it was just, that one, quasi executed, but it's just like, okay, he showed up, he chomped on someone. That was it. No.
Yeah.
But then again, the Ronnie was the one who wanted to bring him back, so yeah.
That's true. That is true. And the Ronnie, just like the Master.
Yep. How many times has
their wild, harebrained schemes end up failing?
Kind of go the way of Wile E. Coyote.
Little bit. But yeah, the fact that the Ronnie, that version of the Ronnie is gone, and then they managed to destroy Omega, I guess. He's destroyed. Oh, this is Omega we're talking about. Is he ever truly destroyed? I don't think so.
Right.
Especially considering he was a being of essentially pure antimatter.
And then he also made himself a god. So
yes.
There is that.
Yeah, so I don't think that Omega is completely gone.
I don't either. I think he's going to be like another Master Ronnie waiting in the wings, that he is going to come back and rear his ugly head, just like the Celestial Toymaker and a few other people that are in the wind.
Right. Yeah. So, and I still think that we still have the potential to see the Time Lords return.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not in the way that the Ronnie wanted, because obviously the Ronnie, hello eugenics.
Yeah.
I know I know she's a scientist, but girl, talking about the Time Lords being like the the epitome of genetics and evolution and living beings throughout the cosmos and all this. So I'm like, girl, you've been reading the wrong books.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that maybe you want the Time Lords back. I would like to see the Time Lords back, because they would just be a pain in the ass for the Doctor and the rest of the universe, but not this way. This is not the way I'd want to see the Time Lords come back. At least not fulfilling the vision that the Ronnie had.
Right. Yes.
So I'm glad that at least that was stopped, I guess. But so yeah, I still think there's I still think there's some openings there for some of my theories to come to fruition at some point.
Oh yeah.
If you've been listening, especially to Next Stop Everywhere. But then part of me almost feels like they rushed the whole Ronnie Omega thing so that they could spend all this time with Poppy.
Yep.
And this idea that, in theory, that with the Omega stopped and the Ronnie stopped and the proper time coming from the Time Hotel, the proper reality coming from the Time Hotel, that everything is fixed. And they also managed to save Poppy, who isn't supposed, this version of Poppy, obviously not Space Baby's Poppy. That's her own. That's in theory, Conrad got the idea of Poppy from the Doctor's memories of the adventure with Space, the Space Baby story. Is where Conrad pulled that from. So, but they were like, well, if we reset reality, Poppy might not exist anymore. They end up putting her in a zero room, which again is a nice callback to a Doctor, classic hero. The idea of the zero room. And thankfully, at first, Poppy is saved. But then Ruby still has these memories.
Right.
That nobody else has.
Yeah.
And
everybody's poo-pooing her like she's the crazy one.
She's the crazy one.
Yeah.
And
it really gets to her in that scene when Belinda and the Doctor are trading that piece of fabric back and forth, talking about where they're going to go, and then all of a sudden Poppy's gone, and then the playpen or crib is gone. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. And it kind of turns out that like reality reset, but it's just like 1 degree off.
Right. Yes.
So then the Doctor's like, well, I'll fix it.
Yes.
And he realizes that the real best way to do that is a big blast of energy. And where can he get a blast of energy that size? Regeneration energy. So he's essentially going to force himself to regenerate, and using that energy, pushing reality just 1 degree, in the proper direction. But not before getting a visit from Jodie's doctor.
I was not expecting that either, but I'm just like, ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Big finish.
Yeah.
This is another side series that I would love to have multi-Doctor wise, please, and thank you.
Yeah, because it's like,
having a former doctor or former companion, we saw this with Matt, where Karen came back as Amy.
Yep.
So, we got some classic companions and classic doctors before Jodie regenerated. So now we get, Ncuti's predecessor coming back, it's temporarily pulled out of her timeline to give him.
I loved 15's comment. Well, at least I thought you were going to be the other guy.
Yeah. Like, everybody's like, David Tennant! No.
Yes, the doctor, but not the doctor you were expecting.
Exactly. To steal from Paul McGann's doctor. But yeah, it was nice to see Jodie come back.
And of course, she had to comment about the TARDIS and how she did not like the redecoration.
Yeah, you redecorated. I don't like it. They never do.
Nope.
Previous incarnations never like it. But thankfully, she's able to help him with his calculations.
Yes.
So it allows them to kind of have some meta commentary to each other, which was kind of nice. She's like, "You're really gorgeous," commenting on, which, I mean, he is. He's a very good looking man.
Oh yes,
he's not necessarily my type, although I'm also not his type because I'm not a dude. So.
but you can appreciate the beauty.
I can appreciate, yes, that he is a good looking man.
Yes.
And so Jodie's doctor takes off back to properly in her timeline, and he uses the regeneration energy and fixes it, and he ends up back at Belinda's house. Belinda's finally home. It is March 25th, although, or 24th or whatever. But obviously for us it's March 30 or May 31st, not March, May 31st. But now reality in theory is properly set.
And then we find out that there's a whole bunch of side conversations that we've been missing, and why Belinda needed to get back to that certain point in time.
Because Poppy really does exist, and Poppy is Belinda's daughter.
Yes.
Just not the daughter of her and the doctor.
Yes.
So, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Like, what was the point of that, us being shown that now? They have their goodbye, and so Ncuti goes back on the TARDIS. Generation starting, of course, he's alone, so he's like, I don't want to do this alone. So he goes and parks the TARDIS where he can see Joy, the star, so that he can kind of be with her and regenerate. Thankfully, out in space, this doctor's smart, goes into space, parks the TARDIS, opens the doors, gets far enough out of the doorway to let all that regeneration go out and not destroy the TARDIS interior again.
Yes.
Something that has happened multiple times because of very violent regenerations.
Right. So the TARDIS doesn't go kablooey. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
He's finally learning after so many incarnations.
That and the set decorators are like, whoo, we don't have to decorate a new one for a while. So he regenerates, and we get Billie Piper.
Yeah.
And we all do our best impression of the 10th Doctor going, what?
What? Yes. And then we get the title, and then this is what we brought up at the very beginning of the podcast.
Yes, because in the credits,
title cards. Yes,
it says with it gives all the cast and everything, and it says with Ncuti Gatwa as the doctor, with Jodie Whittaker as the doctor, and it says introducing Billie Piper. No other text.
Nothing. Nada. Zippo. Zilch.
Not Billie Piper as a doctor or Billie Piper as whatever. Just introducing Billie Piper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got theories.
Yeah, I know the internet's got theories too.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my theories?
Absolutely.
Bad Wolf 2.0, The Moment 2.0, or TARDIS in physical form. I think TARDIS in physical form has been floated about, but The Moment and Rose 2.0 I haven't, or not Rose 2.0, Bad Wolf 2.0, those I have not seen floating around.
Yeah. I've seen like some sort of like TARDIS, like TARDIS, like, what was a word that somebody used in a comment I saw? Like a protector.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Of the TARDIS.
Like a sentinel or a guardian, yeah.
Yeah, some sort of like guardian of the TARDIS. Obviously Bad Wolf, that is the thing that comes up most often in the comments I've seen. Mm-hmm. Which would make sense, you know, depending on how they spin it. They could absolutely utilize Bad Wolf. I mean, that literally we'd be going full circle back to RTD's initial run.
Yeah, exactly.
As the showrunner.
Ending of very first season 2005 with her looking into the heart of the TARDIS to save Jack, Doctor trying to save her, and then boom. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which, considering this year is the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who coming back.
Right. Yep.
And Russell T Davies was the showrunner.
Right. And how many callbacks? And how many callbacks have we been making to first season David Tennant thread? Yes, Russell's been throwing in other showrunners, but he's been going back to like that one, the bookends.
Yes.
Of his very first run. At least that's what I picked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think he's doing that, you know, willy-nilly. There's something there.
Yeah. And that's why I think that is I think that is why we are seeing, that's why it's just as Billie Piper instead of Billie Piper as the Doctor, because I don't think she is. I don't think she's. No. Yeah,
I don't think so either. I've had a couple other friends of mine and other chats are just like, well, but they regenerated. I'm like, title card, and then somebody's just like, don't fight her on this one. She knows her stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, Russell T Davies.
I will, if we are wrong and she happens to be, then I will happily eat my
most of the time.
But until we get an official announcement somewhere.
Yeah. Most of the time, some eras notwithstanding, people who were showrunners and probably shouldn't have.
Right.
If you know anything about the Sixth Doctor era, you know who I'm talking about. He who shall not be named.
He's another 3-letter like RTD.
Yes, but not nearly as but bad. He's on the shit list, unlike RTD.
Right. I mean, this other guy has one letter in common with RTD.
He who shall not be named.
Not be named, yes.
Yes. In general, especially with New Who.
Yeah.
For sure. Because pretty much everybody who has been in charge has been a fan and, you know, therefore respects what the institution of Doctor Who. And we know RTD is no exception. He's a huge fanboy.
Right, yes.
So they do not do things without reason.
No.
Even if we don't find out what that reason is for ages.
Right. Long game.
Absolute ages.
Yes.
we eventually find out. And things like the title cards are not done just willy-nilly. So if it says Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor,
right,
and Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, which bringing back a previous incarnation of the Doctor probably helped for them to be able to do that. As well, to be able to be like, look, there's 2 names that say as the Doctor.
The Doctor, right.
Yeah, so that when Billy's name comes out and it says nothing, you know it's intentional.
Right.
So,
it's not an oops. It's like, you forgot to put something underneath your name. No.
Right. And I do think that, whether this is Bad Wolf or I don't necessarily see her as the moment. I don't necessarily think that we need the moment, because the moment was just very specific to the Time War.
Right.
And we've taken care of that.
Right. But then, like you said, bringing back the Time Lords.
But I think we could do that with Bad Wolf.
That's okay.
Because
that's Bad
Wolf was born out of looking into the heart of the TARDIS.
True.
The TARDISes are powered by the Eye of Harmony.
That's true too. Yeah. So I mean, basically, we got some valid theories. We just got to figure out what combination and trying to pin down RTD. Not easy. Not an easy thing to do.
Right. Yeah. And at this point, we don't know when Doctor Who's coming back.
Right.
Is also the thing. We haven't gotten any sort of news about maybe a Christmas episode or a New Year's episode.
Or we're going to be taking a 2 to 3 year break.
Right. But in the meantime, we're getting that.
But then again, it might not be a bad thing, so they can get more ducks in a row.
Right. And it also depends on, I think, because we are getting the war between land and sea.
That too, yeah. And how much is that going to play into what's going to be coming down the pipe?
Because I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's got Kate Lethbridge Stewart in it, so we got Unit involved.
Yep.
So is this going to be like a Unit thing, or? It seems like it. It seems like it's going to be mostly a Unit thing, but that doesn't mean that the Doctor can't.
Who's not going to say there's going to be something at the very last episode of this that's going to lead into
something. And that might be how they announce when Doctor Who is coming back. But until we get that, we're just kind of stuck waiting. I mean, Russell T Davies has not been like radio silent by any means. Like, he has posted a picture of Billy's like chair with her name on the back of it since that episode aired. Like, being the little troll that he is. He's a lovable troll though.
Yes.
Unlike some others. But at this point it's like, Russell T Davies, what are you doing? Like, I trust him.
Right.
Do I trust him implicitly? No.
You trust him to a certain extent.
I trust him I do trust him to a certain extent. But
then I also have the doctors. I still have the doctors. Rule number 1: the Doctor always lies, and then sometimes I think Russell on the occasion. We could put that in.
I think it's just rule number 1: the showrunner lies.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's Russell T Davies. So,
because Moffat's pulled the wool over our eyes a few times. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Moffat has flat out lied to us. So, So it is a distinct possibility that Russell. I mean, he's not going to give us anything that's going to spoil anything. But I think he has got a long game plan, and honestly, I still think it involves a return of the Time Lords. How exactly? I don't know. But I honestly, I think that that's maybe his like end goal.
Mm-hmm.
But how we're going to get there, I don't know. And I could also be completely wrong.
Yeah.
As well.
We're just spitballing and trying to make some educated guesses based on what we know and what we know of our history and lore of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, like he knows, he knows what ingredients he's cooking with.
Oh yeah.
I will give him that. So
yeah. Just keep him away from the Nitro 9 and I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then again, he might be, hey, yeah. Boom.
Yeah. So it's just we're just gonna have to wait and see at this point. So that's all we really can. It's all we really can do at this point. So, I guess it's a matter of us just waiting.
Yeah.
So.
And it may be a real short wait or it may be a real long wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if we do get it, it might be. I mean, some things have been said officially, unofficially. Like the BBC has said that an official decision on future series will be made after the series finished airing. The contract with Disney Plus was for 26 episodes.
And we've done how many?
26.
Okay.
So, I believe. Let's see. So there's 8. Well, no, 9 if you count Joy to the World. Another 9.
10. Well, then so 10
18.
With the church on Ruby Road.
Yeah, so 19, 20, 21. So we're 21.
Are they counting the Silurian thing as part of the 26?
That I don't know. Because if you start with the Star Beast through the Reality War, we're at 21.
Okay.
So, and I don't know how many episodes the Silurian is supposed to be. So, I mean, if it's 5, then no. It might be that might be it. So we're supposed to be getting that some point this year, 2025. And yes, it is 5 episodes. So there you go. So that's 26. Yeah. But it's due out sometime 2025. So we're supposed to get it between now and the end of the year. But that fulfills the contract of the 26. So, and then Russell T Davies has suggested that if there was going to be a hiatus, it would probably be on the longer side. But we'll see. The speculation is not likely to come back until 2027.
Right. That's what I've seen
at least proper Doctor Who.
Right.
As we're talking now. But that does not mean that we can't get one-offs, that sort of thing. So we'll have to wait and see. So yeah. We shall see. That's where we're at. So, but I'm kind of sad to see Ncuti go. I think he was a fantastic doctor.
Oh yeah.
It's you can just tell. Somehow it manages to seep through the screen. You can just tell when an actor is enjoying playing a part.
Oh yeah. And all the other actors around him love him in the role as well. I mean, Gemma Redgrave. I mean, I watched The Unleashed, and she was even tearing up a bit when talking about that final wrap day for him. So it's like,
yeah, that moment where they had in unit headquarters, when Belinda's like, you saved me as a child, and Ruby, he helped Ruby figure out, and Kate is even like, yeah, I kind of, we kind of consider ourselves all your children.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was just about to bring that up, that line. So he's got, even though they're not his biologically, he's got kids, and they're his companions, Yeah.
Yeah. It is a big, it's a big family.
Oh yeah. Big family.
It's a big fam. So.
Yep. A big fam that needs to get together more often for holidays.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
This is a good series. I cannot wait to hear an announcement to find out when we're going to get more back. For those of you who are on the fence, please take a look at these 2 series with Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor. You will not be disappointed. There weren't that many quote unquote clunker episodes.
Even Space Babies.
Space Babies got redeemed. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. That's true. So, absolutely. I agree. So, there's some fun stuff in there.
Yep. Russell, you did good. Even though we might curse your name in vain a few times, you did good.
Yep. In general, I can't complain too much.
Nope.
Like, I know you got a plan, Russell. Try to do my best to, hold judgment.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my. Oh. Well, if any of our listeners want to give your 2 cents on the most recent season of Doctor Who, maybe you got a theory of why we're seeing Billie Piper's face again. You can send us feedback. You can email us fiveishfangirls@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, which is thefiveishfangirls.com, where you find links to all of our various social media accounts, podcast related social media accounts, and our individual ones as well. If you'd like to follow us, convention season is a coming. PopCon, Indie PopCon is in like 4 weeks or something like that. So, that's exciting. Yay. And of course, ways for you to financially support us also on the podcast, on the website. Everything. It's all about the website, all the thingy things on the website. So if you can't find what you're looking for on the website, email us or, message us on Facebook or something, and we'll point you in the right direction or answer your question, depending on what it is. So we appreciate all of your support. And especially those of you that follow us, words, order, English, those of you that have been supporting us for a long time. Stay tuned for information on next episode. Because that is episode 500.
Yep.
And as we're recording this coming Sunday is our 11th anniversary, which also means it's Colin Baker's birthday. Woo!
Yep.
So, I think he's going to be 84-ish, I think.
I think so.
Thereabouts. I think he's like twice my age, give or take a little. But yes, it'll be our 11th birthday. And next episode will be number 500. We're hopefully going to live stream.
Hopefully.
I did some testing the other day. but we need to do some further testing. So more information will be forthcoming once we figure out all the technical stuff. So, because the tech has changed a little bit since last time we live streamed. So,
yep.
Gotta work some kinks out. But the plan is to live stream either on YouTube and or probably Facebook, more than likely. So, but location and exact time, TBD. Once we have that hammered out, we will let you know. But until then, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bengal saying goodnight.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Ernest Borgnine got lucky. Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, thefiveishfangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FiveishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.